All right, what is up, takers? Welcome back to Ty's Take Today Live. We do this each and every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you know already, we already have a previous couple episodes out there. So if you're a returning taker, welcome back to the family. I'm so excited. Christmas and the holidays are like almost here. And on today's show, we're going to be talking to two guests. So first up, we do have Rachael Norwood, who is a licensed clinical social worker. So we're going to dive into some of her published products, some of the services that she offers. We're everything mental health, because as the shirt says, you are enough. And I'm super excited. And then later we will be talking to Nicole, who is just an overall extremely creative individual, and we're going to be talking about one of their events that are coming up at the Tangent Gallery in Detroit. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and add our first guest to the stage. Please welcome Rachael Norwood. Hey, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Are you ready for the holidays and the new year?
I am. I went to the Wayne County in Michigan, the Wayne County Light Fest on Friday. And so I like to do all the Christmassy stuff.
Absolutely. I was telling Rachael right before we went on air that the background is all courtesy of my amazing boyfriend. So I have my Mickey Mouse themed Christmas tree inside, and then on the outside, it's all decked out. My neighbors, they have younger kids, and I heard the kids in the hallway. They're like, Santa Claus lives there. That's where Santa lives. And I was like, yes, mission accomplished, spreading joy and positivity. So once again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and your family. And I'm really excited to have this conversation. Mental health and, being someone who has previously had suicide attempts and battled with mental health. It's just an important topic that we strive to talk about mental health almost during every interview, regardless of who we're interviewing. So I want to dive in and just talk about yourself and what inspired you to pursue a career in this type of field.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And what that means is I have a master's degree in clinical social work. And that allows me to, right. So like all therapists have some kind of like a credentialing or lettering behind their name. And some people kind of don't understand, okay, what's between the difference between a psychologist and a social worker and all those kind of things. And basically what I say, it's just the lens that we practice out of. All of it's very, very valuable. But so I decided, I actually got my bachelor's degree in social work, but I have I'm sorry, my bachelor's degree in psychology and my master's degree in social work. And the reason why I decided to pursue social work actually is because I really appreciate the social justice lens that we practice out of, that social workers practice out of. And any therapist that you will ever talk to is likely to say that they became a therapist because they have some kind of past, some kind of, trauma, some kind of mental health history. So, I mean, I'm no different. I have a past, I have a mental health history myself. And, I think that maybe in the beginning, either we're trying to help ourselves, we're trying to help, the world, we're trying to make the world a better place. And, I'm no different than any other therapist that you would talk to. I also have an advanced certification as a alcohol and drug counselor. Again, any alcohol and drug counselor that you will speak to will probably say they either know somebody or have a history of alcohol and drug addiction, or they know somebody that they loved. So again, I'm no different. I'm just like all the other therapists out there. But yeah, I really enjoy what I do, and I feel very, very lucky to be a part of seeing other people make efforts and changes in their life.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, for a lot of us, especially with like the whole New Year's resolutions, it's about to be a new year, time to start over and refresh. I think it's so important. And I think, focusing on breaking that mental health stigma, especially for men as well, it's considered soft, or, you're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to express. Like, we have all these negative connotations and things that really at the end of the day aren't even true. So that's one of the many reasons why I choose to be an advocate. What are some of the biggest challenges and obstacles that you faced in your journey within the healthcare realm?
I mean, if anybody tells you anything other than health insurance, I would be really curious about, and maybe like administrative stuff and like systemic issues, but definitely, obviously, health insurance is part of the systemic issues that we have in this country. And so, just getting everybody access to high quality healthcare is super super important. And then I think as therapists, we also, a lot of people don't know this, but as therapists we actually battle the insurance companies a lot. And so I have no professionals or people that I worked with in the past who have provided services to clients, and then the insurance company will come back and 6 months later and say, "Oh no, just kidding. We want all of our money back." And then the client gets billed. And I've actually had that personally when I was seeing a therapist, and my insurance company initially approved it and then denied it later. So I say health insurance, I mean, is a huge issue in this country, period. But definitely for mental health care. And I would also say the stigma. I in my practice, I've seen a lot more men recently starting to get therapy, which I'm so so thankful for. But when I first started doing therapy, it was not. It was very very far and few between, and if they were receiving therapy, it was some kind of like court order, like they were kind of like being forced to be there. It wasn't necessarily because they wanted to be there, which ultimately, right, they still got some care, and which was a good thing. But I see a lot more men voluntarily coming, so I think stigma.
Absolutely. And yeah, I can definitely agree because when I first started with a therapist, my insurance covered it and everything was smooth sailing. Then I got the bill later and I was like, wait a minute, I'm
Mhm.
confused. And then there's just so many different questions and like the entire process. It seems like these insurance companies are really out to get us, you know. So I think once you find that those services and it does take some time, but it is like you said beneficial, especially if it's something that you want to do to better yourself and
Mhm.
not something that may be required or court ordered.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, you have a couple different published pieces of work that I want to get into and
Mhm.
let everybody know the different projects that you have published and where they can check out them and seek those resources and how you would like those published pieces of work to influence and help people out there that may be watching today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a few journals. They're all available on Amazon. If you want a printed version, like if you just want a printed PDF version, they are also available on Etsy. But if you just type in Rachel Norwood, you should be able to find something. I have a few journals. The first one is a self care journal. It's a it's a kind of like a reflection slash activities. Like, how do I take care of myself? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I need right now? And then I also have other journals for parents who have children that have mental health struggles. That's a mood tracker. A lot of times when parents have children that have mental health struggles, they can't remember going into the psychiatrist office what they want to share with the doctor regarding the kids, or they can't remember what they want the therapist to know. And so, like that tracker is kind of to help the parents coordinate with the psychiatrist or coordinate with the therapist that their child is seeing. I also have a mood tracker for just individuals, adults, because uh, a lot of times it's very, very helpful to be able to track patterns. And when we're able to track patterns, like, okay, I felt good on this day. What was going on in that day? Why did I feel good in that day? And being able to kind of replicate that. Or, this was a really bad day for me. What was going on in my life? And being able to track patterns can help us track thoughts and moods, and can help us reach for different self-care options. So if we don't know what's going on with us first, right? If we don't know how we're feeling, then it's kind of hard to figure out what we need. And then I have another one that is related to our relationship with food, and I think that's a big one nowadays. Is it is kind of to help people explore their relationship with food. And am I eating for emotional reasons? Am I not recognizing that I'm eating for emotional reasons? So those can all be found on Amazon. A few of them are located on Etsy for printouts.
Absolutely. And so especially now, I know we're talking holidays and visiting family or even like loved ones that we don't see on a general basis. Or what advice rather or tips and pointers would you give to people out there that are looking to really go into these holidays. I know, Christmas, like I said, is later this week, and the New Year's, and just overall the freshness of it all into 2025. How can people track their thoughts? Like, I know we mentioned the resources, so we definitely want people to go purchase those resources. It's on my to-do list right after this interview. But just, some tips and things that people can do who may be battling, a wide range of emotions and thoughts, especially during the holiday season.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a perfect point in terms of like self-care, right? Like self-care for a lot of people, they think, well, going to get my nails done, going to get a massage, going to do all these, things, which can be definitely a part of your self-care routine if you can afford things like that. But think at the very, very basic level, sleep impacts our mood greatly. And so if we can prioritize sleep, if we can prioritize some form of movement of our body, it can give us a little hit of the feel good chemicals in our brain. So whether that's just a 30-minute walk, whether that's dancing in your living room, um, just very, very simple things like that. Obviously, eating a well-balanced meal. I know people probably don't like to hear this during the holidays because it's a celebration season, but alcohol, um, alcohol can be a big thing that can actually impact our mood. In the moment, it feels really good, but for most people, that it's because you're getting a hit of dopamine, and so all your feel-good chemicals in your brain go up when you're drinking, and then the next day you have a come down, and you feel anxious, you feel depressed, you feel just generally overall not well, whether that's physical or mental. So limiting or just being aware of what your alcohol use is. And if you decide to drink, just be expectant, like, okay, I'm going to drink tonight. I might feel bad tomorrow and I need to lower what my expectations are or adjust tomorrow when I'm not feeling good or I'm feeling anxious. Um, so I think those are a few things. I know that a lot of people struggle with family. I think especially after this election, a lot of people are struggling with family gatherings and things like that. And I think there's like a discourse online right now that says we not that says, but there's a lot of talk about going no contact with family, which for some people is necessary, is absolutely necessary. For some people, no contact is not an option. And so what I say for those people, for self-care and getting through the holidays and things like that is limit your contact or just know what your threshold is. And just kind of keep expectations low for those family members that you love, but you have to be around or you want to be around or um, and so just managing your self-care in very, very small ways through like sleep, watching your alcohol use, maybe getting some exercise movement in and, expectations around family members that maybe you don't quite get along with, and setting some boundaries in those situations. So if this person is disrespectful or rude, then remove yourself. You don't necessarily need to be in the situation, and remove yourself could be a temporary situation, right? This person says something disrespectful or rude. I don't appreciate you saying that to me. I'm gonna leave now. I'll be back when you're able to have a more compassionate or caring or understanding conversation, or are willing to change the subject altogether.
Absolutely. You
Um,
you had segued right into what was my next question. I
mhm,
think setting boundaries and having those uncomfortable conversations can be extremely difficult at times. Especially like you said, politics, or if it's just something that or you don't agree with. And
mhm,
having that conversation with loved ones, friends, family, not always the most easiest. I know we talked a little bit about establishing boundaries. Are there any like daily practices aside from journaling and meditating that you would suggest that easy, affordable things that people can do, which we may not even realize that this is something and this is an outlet that we can utilize to our advantage in a positive way?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of apps. I mean, they have like a whole bunch of meditative apps and they have like they have journaling apps, they have my journal, there's a whole bunch of like pretty relatively inexpensive things that you can do out there. In terms of keeping your sanity and one thing I guess I like always kind of come back to because I think people struggle to know when to take care of themselves, when to set a boundary. And I think which I think we really need to start paying attention to our bodies. And so, what our bodies feel like. And what that may mean is, am I tense right now? Why am I tense? Okay, what do I do with that information? Am I really tired right now? How do I need rest right now? Is that rest through sleep? Is that rest through relaxation? So just generally starting to pay attention to our bodies more, because I think it's a really big missed sign and cue that we need something, and I think it's a really good indicator of I feel really uncomfortable right now. Well, my body, my heart's racing when this person said something to me. That might be an indicator that you need to set a boundary with somebody. Again, I'm really tired. What kind of rest do I need? So I think just starting to overall pay attention to what our bodies are physically feeling like, so we can utilize those as cues to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And I also think that, because me personally, I'm the type that likes to do a lot for others and always feel like that I'm helpful and there for other people. And then I feel like a lot of our audience members as well probably can, or our viewers rather, can
Mhm.
relate to, like, you can't, I call it being a Superman. You can't always be Superman, especially like you said, you have to notice what your body is telling you because we only have one. So, not
Mhm.
trying to exhaust yourself to your maximum to try and do everything for everybody else. You have to find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And know what your limit is. And even if you don't, right, and maybe you're still exploring what your limit is, maybe you don't know what your limit is, but try to figure out what your limit is. And a good way to kind of determine what your limit is how your body's feeling.
Absolutely. And I do want to mention, I forgot to mention during the start of our conversation, for those that are watching on Facebook, we're live on YouTube and Twitch as well. If you have a question or, you want to share your thoughts or just let us know where you're watching from, feel free to do so and use that comment feature. I do also want to, what has been the overall feedback that you have gotten from people that have utilized your published works?
Yeah. I think overall, I think especially with my not your mother's food journal, it's my food journal, that is related to just kind of explain your relationship with food. I think people actually don't recognize that maybe they had not such a great relationship with food, or they were coping using food, because I think especially when we get into habits, or it's just we go from like we pass this whole step of thinking and feeling, right? We go from I feel bad, but not kind of saying, okay, why do I feel bad, or what does bad feel like? And we just feel bad and we don't recognize what that feels like and go straight for something to make us feel good. And sometimes that's food, and sometimes that's like a boost to our feel good brain chemicals. And that can be the same for like alcohol or drugs or whatever the case is, but specifically with food because it's easier access, it's more um attainable for a lot of people in terms of like as a coping mechanism. It's a little bit more attainable. It's quicker. We don't really have to think. It doesn't take a lot of effort. So I think that's actually probably people are utilizing food in self care, which right we can enjoy food, but when we start to use it to cope, sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can create a problem. So that's the biggest thing I've noticed. I also noticed with my self care journals that again we just aren't recognizing what we're feeling like. We're skipping this whole process. We're having thoughts and feelings really quick. We're not recognizing them, and then we're just going to do this action, and whether that be food, alcohol, maybe fighting with somebody, or some other kind of maybe coping habit that's not that great for us. So I think recognizing our thoughts and emotions and how to cope with the self care journal, and then the food journal. Actually, maybe not recognizing that our relationship with food isn't that great.
Absolutely. And then also, what advice would you give to people out there that may be considering seeking therapy or counseling? And then for those that may be interested, I know, like we said earlier, that, the full disclaimer, look into it, do your research, especially when it comes to the healthcare options and insurance coverage and policies. So
Mhm.
that disclaimer, please
Yeah.
seek the actual professionals, not Tyler's advice. But I just want to put that out there. But for those that may be interested in contacting you and seeing if they can seek services, where can they find you at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a few things. So I'm actually I work in research, behavioral health research, and then I also work as an independent contractor at Great Lakes Psychology Group, and that's in Michigan. So I'm only licensed in the state of Michigan, and what that means is that I can only see clients who are in the state of Michigan. So if you're in the state of Michigan, um, Great Lakes Psychology Group is a great resource. I am currently booked and busy, so I don't have any spots available right now, but there are a lot of great resources through Great Lakes Psychology Group, and you can utilize psychologytoday.com. It's kind of like a search engine, right? So you get a search engine, you get to see a therapist's picture a lot of times, you get to read their profile to see if it's a good match. Um, so I'm not necessarily available for therapy services, but if you wanted to follow me on Instagram, I do have an Instagram with all my journals and things like that. It's called Guided Journal. Yep, there we go, and right on the screen there, and you can follow me there. And again, all the things posted on there is for entertainment purposes only, and obviously seek a professional, and that's not therapy services.
Absolutely. Very important to put that disclaimer in it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you. Before we get out of here, I do want to play, we've been playing a quick like rapid fire
Mhm.
game, if you're down to play. And then
Yeah.
also, are you currently working? Sorry, there's something in my eye. This is how you know
Sure.
it's live television or live podcasting.
Yeah, we're
Um,
real people. That's what happens.
for real. But where can sorry, are you currently working on any additional projects, and what can can we expect more resources into the new year?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually this is so technically this is not therapy related, but in a way it's related to mental health. So I also am an amateur photographer, and I am trying to get a project started off the ground related to grief. And there's a lot of grief going around on the holidays and things like that. But essentially it is being able to talk about our loved ones, and what that person talk more about that person, and give a space for people to talk about their loved one that has passed away, and photograph what grief looks like at every stage. So that is like what I'm kind of working on right now. Again, it's not necessarily therapy, it's mental health related, and more of an art project than anything else. But if anybody's interested, I haven't been able to get in contact with anybody, because it is a vulnerable situation, right, when we talk about loved ones and then having to be photographed. So I totally understand that. But if you are interested, you can message me on Instagram. So, anyways, that's one of the projects that I'm working on right now.
Absolutely, that is so powerful. And to be honest, for me, so my grandpa is no longer with us.
Mm.
But I opened a gift last night, and it was he got me on this cake, and I know it's so unhealthy, but I love Mountain Dew.
Uh-huh.
And my boyfriend got me a little mini fridge,
Hmm.
Mountain Dew, to put my Mountain Dew cans, like a 6 pack of
Yeah.
them. And I instantly, when I opened it, like I just, my eyes started watering, and I was like, wow, like, and it was just a reminder that like life is so short. And I
Hmm.
think it's so important, especially if you are grieving the passing of a loved one, that if you do need those resources, that they are available. Like I said, it's just a conversation that we don't have enough.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
part of my mission is to hopefully encourage people to have those conversations. So I'm definitely interested in circling back with you on that project, and looking
Yeah.
forward to hopefully we can share some of your pieces on our
Mhm.
platform.
Yeah.
um, and thank you so much for doing that. All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So, talking about the holidays, what is your
Yeah.
favorite holiday tradition?
Oh, favorite holiday? It's gotta be decorating. It's gotta be decorating the Christmas tree, only because our ornaments, the ornaments that I have, and this has kind of been something that my family has been doing as a kid. We get like a new ornament every year, or we get anyway. So it gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect on, or like, hey, my grandmother actually gave me an ornament, so like, and she's passed away now too. So I can say, oh, my grandma gave me this, and gives me an opportunity to remember her and remember that she's with me. Or hey, I went on this really cool trip. So, anyways, it's kind of like a good way to end the year, and gives me really good memories and feel good. And of course, it looks beautiful when I get to turn it on every day. So, like, that's probably one of my favorite.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very I grabbed a book earlier, and I was just chilling on the couch reading, and I'm like, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the little things in life that we take for granted sometimes. In one
Yeah.
word, how would you describe self-care during the holidays?
Ugh, just one word. I would say hard. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say hard, but if that's the only word I get, that's what I'm using.
All right, and then a fun one: hot chocolate, eggnog, or some other type of holiday beverage.
I'm gonna say specifically for the holidays or just in general.
We can do it in general.
Oh no, that makes it harder. I guess I'll say hot chocolate. Holidays, I love eggnog, but it's my once a year type of thing. I feel like I can do hot chocolate throughout the year.
What is the one small act of kindness that anyone can do to spread positivity?
hmm I would say be kind to yourself because if you are kind to yourself, you're more likely to be kind to other people. So I would say give yourself a break, and it'll help you give other people a break too.
Absolutely. And then lastly, if you could pick only one holiday movie to watch every year, what would you pick?
Okay, hands down, Home Alone. I was born in maybe I shouldn't tell my age, but I was born in 1990, and that is my like go to. Like Home Alone is my favorite childhood movie, Christmas movie.
Absolutely. Rachel, so much. Thank you so much for joining us again and having this conversation. We'll be sure to also go ahead and put your Instagram up one more time
Thank
at
you.
Guided Journal. And then we will also link to your products and resources within the description of this video. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today and having
Yeah.
this conversation. And hopefully we'll be in touch and have you on again soon to talk about your projects and any forthcoming resources that we can speak into existence to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on and be kind to yourself and Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas to all of the viewers at home.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much. Once again, you guys are watching Ties Take Today Live. I'm going to go ahead and put our social media up on the screen right now as well. Be sure to follow us at It's Ties Take Today over on Facebook. We keep it simple and easy. Also, Instagram at It's Ties Take Today. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that beautiful subscribe button on YouTube at It's Ties Take Today. And we appreciate you all so much for joining us every Thursday and Sunday. And up next, we are going to add our next creative and photographer to the conversation. This is Amy Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us today, Amy.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. I was just thinking back to when we did our little photo shoot in Detroit, and I was like, I
Right?
didn't have enough time, but I'm like, I want to show those pictures because I go back on Instagram and I'm like, oh, look at little model Tyler. I was so young.
I know that one of you in the belt before the belt got too popular and like overdone. Because I feel like we went there before it was super popular with the lights behind you is like one of my favorites still.
Yes, it was. It was like you said. It was definitely way before the belt was even like big.
Now you run into like everyone and their mother doing photography in there, I swear.
Absolutely, it's a little played out now. Still a beautiful part of the city, but
Definitely.
you're definitely seeing everyone's wedding photos and engagement photos, all sorts of photos. I want to really just go ahead and dive straight in and tell our audience a little bit about your journey. I know I called you a creative, you're a photographer, kind of like you're a podcast host. So tell our audience in a nutshell who Amy Nicole is.
Amy Nicole is someone that doesn't know how to sit still very well, first of all. I have been primarily a photographer for most of my existence. I started doing photography at 13 years old. And luckily, within my high school career, I was able to access tons of digital classes while they were still in a space where they weren't teaching that very much. So I had my hand in Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, hard coding basic websites and things. And by the time I graduated, I had already done a journalism class. They'd sent me to Michigan State to do journalism classes. So it was crazy to me the way that like my life played out the minute that I like became 13 years old and just decided this is who I was going to be as a person for the rest of my life. So I ended up doing photography for a very long time, went through all the different types of cycles, whether I did portraiture like I did with you, or I was doing a lot of urban exploring back when we had buildings to do that. Detroit used to be a very different landscape than it is today, the good and the bad. And then as time's gone on, I have dove more into photography based for creators, whether that be musicians, artists, anybody that's looking for like creative headshots, that sort of thing. But I also spend a majority of my time running my magazine, which is acronym Zine. And I have now 5 people on my team that I send out to concerts, and we write reviews, we shoot the shows, and try to help progress these musical artists all in all shapes and sizes, because we'll get some big shows, and like I did Comerica Park for Green Day this year, but then we'll get some local shows as well. So I kind of am all over the place, on top of doing the podcast, as you previously mentioned, with the Really Big Fan Pod, which is very much a way of us being positive. We basically have somebody come on and talk about something they really like and let them gush about it. And it's not like you have to be an expert and come in and teach us. It's more of like, tell us why you like this thing. And it helps us practice gratitude a little bit.
Absolutely. So, and then go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you guys and what the name of the show is for those that want to go ahead and check it out as well.
Gotcha. So you can find me at acronym is, and then we've got the podcast at Really Big Fan Pod. That's on Instagram. All of these are pretty much everywhere. Facebook, Instagram. I think the only thing we're not super active on is Twitter at this point. And then Acronym Zine is just at Acronym Zine. You can find that, as well as, and I'll get into it a little bit later, I'm sure, but there is FITU Presents, which is the Found in the Underground Art and Music Festival that we run.
Absolutely. And then, so I want to talk a little bit. I know we're going to dive into an upcoming event for those that may be in Michigan. But how do you balance your role as a photographer, a creative, like all of the things? How do you make time to make sure you find that work-life balance?
I mean, I found that a lot of well, I will say first off, I have zero work-life balance. There's no balance that's happening here. It's juggling. But I will say that because it's one of those things that I love doing, it doesn't feel like work 90% of the time. The stuff that feels like work is more clerical and everything else. But when it comes down to the stuff that I do, I'm very passionate about it. And it is very fun a lot of the time. So I kind of am really lucky that I've been able to sustain as long as I have in the creative aspect, because I really feel like I have one of the coolest lives. And it took me a long time and a lot of pain to get here, but I fully enjoy everything that I'm doing. So there is some sacrifices that you make. And like, for example, last night I went and saw some of my friends for a Christmas party, and we put on a French horror film that had a Santa Claus in it. It's a whole big thing. But at the end, at one point, the host had turned and like, well, yeah, Amy's over here working. And I'm sitting there with like, I'm editing and I'm at a party. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, like I have ADHD, so I'm just gonna like sit here and edit while this is on, and I'm listening and I'm engaging and I'm talking to everybody. But I'm just like, I am constantly working. If I'm not working, I'm sleeping.
Absolutely. What is sleep? Like you said, pulling out the laptop and just editing and constantly creating content and making sure all the plethora of social media sites are updated as best as possible.
Right. I have at least taken a couple steps back from using so much social media. Like I do a lot of creation, but at the same time, I'm not spending time like scrolling as much as I used to. I kind of had to kick the TikTok habit. I used to do a lot of that, and then I was like, I don't have time or the mental capacity to do this anymore. So there is some truth to having to put pause a little bit on it to, let your brain recalibrate and chill out. I do find that as I get older, I am trying to fill my time. If I'm not doing something and putting something out into the world, that I am doing other things that aren't work related. That way I at least have another life outside of it.
Completely relatable. Took the words right out of my mouth. So I know you're also hosting. Would you say event hosting, or kind of helping curate different local events in Metro Detroit?
I have done some things with other places before, but the specific one that I run currently is what's called Found in the Underground. And that's something that I created in 2018. We started out at the Tangent Gallery. We've moved it only one time and immediately went back to the Tangent because the Tangent just works for this event. But basically what it started off as is that I have so many friends that are in the music side of things, and I have all of these other creatives that I know and love. And the one thing that I kept hearing from so many different people was that it was hard to connect with other creatives and hard to have some sense of community. And especially as you know, being in Detroit for so long, that Detroit versus everybody thing isn't just a saying, it's a very big mentality that happens around here. And a lot of people are more prone to, well, I have to, just fight and be the best, and I'm not going to care about anybody else. And so I tried to always turn that on its head and at least find people that want to connect with others, have collaborations, have, friends that understand, because I wouldn't be where I am right now, especially in the last few years, if I didn't have a group of friends that completely understand what I do. I have friends that aren't in the creative industries, but I have a group chat with like 5 other photographers, and we're constantly gut checking things with each other, having conversations, expressing our feelings, that sort of thing. And that has been one of the saving graces. So with that, it's almost like I've always been trying to make that, but at a larger scale. So we started the first one in 2018. We had another in 2019. The pandemic screwed over 2020, but we brought it back after the pandemic to do a couple more. And we've had some smaller satellite events as well that are part of that brand. But the premier of it all is to have the Tangent Gallery and Hastings Street Ballroom. We have had as many as 3 stages worth of music, and I usually try to service rock, rap, and electronic music. There's so many DJs, so many talented rappers, and so many rock bands all through Detroit. We have a plethora of music. And so to create a place where these people can be seen is super helpful. And the way that we do that is we have 30 plus vendors come in, whether they're going to vend art or showcase their art. And as long as everybody promotes and connects with each other, we're bringing everybody together in one space, and people walk away with new favorite artists, new favorite performers. At one point before, when the Tangent didn't have the fire department as much on their back, we used to have a fire performer and things like that as well. So the last one that we did was last October. And that was the 3 stages of events. I had Kilo from Rap Camp came in and actually curated the rap stage. That was the first time that I really ever collaborated with someone on a curation before. So he took care of that. I had Leaf and Bud sponsoring the rock stage, and we had great artists on that. And then Acronym Zine sponsored a Femme Beat stage, which was an all-female DJ lineup. So we kind of try to look at, okay, what's going on within the Detroit atmosphere? Who can we bring in that we're seeing as really someone that deserves to be in the spotlight, and then try to make as many connections as we can. Now, it's not a networking event. This is actually like a mini art and music festival. So people come in and they basically have a whole room to experience different things. People hang out. There's obviously the bar, so you can drink, you hear good music, maybe buy some art, and it's a great time for everybody. And I always feel like people walk away with like a sense of community and hope, and that's something we sorely need right now.
Absolutely. I think it's so important. So not only, like you said, the opportunity to network, but more so just showcasing the amazing talent that, sometimes does get overlooked, especially when it comes to our mainstream media or artists that nobody's ever heard of, or maybe you're just not familiar with them. But then you get to see them perform, you get to see a set from an amazing, incredible, talented DJ. And then it's like you're in itself networking, plus, like you said, a nice beverage and being able to support each other at the end of the day. I think that's so important. And just any type of positivity that we can help spread all across the world is definitely something that is very important to me.
Post-pandemic, it definitely became one of those things too, because the algorithm will screw you over every time. If we're only pushing things to social media, we're just kind of yelling into the ether. This actually gets people in a room with each other and creates a sense of a community. And I really, really love doing these because of that. And to the point that sometimes, like, when people see me at my most stressed trying to put something together, they're like, why do you do this again? And I'm like, because it's important for all of us, okay?
and then on the other hand, the other side of things, some people just are like, oh, there we go. I get it. I get this. So I do want to also go ahead and show the flyer in the middle of split screen, kind of.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So found in the underground. Can we talk a little bit more about the performers? I know there's some of them listed here. I'm familiar with Ready Lex, or I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Rady, yeah.
Rady
You were
Lex.
very, very close. So Rady Lex is going to be the headliner this year, and she is a killer. I love her so much. She is also just full of positivity and light, so that's why I really wanted her to be the headliner for this. She is a beacon in our community, whether it be the LGBTQ side or the female side. So I'm super stoked that she was willing to do this. And she's being backed up, opening up the decks with Quirrell, who Quirrell and Rady are friends. So like you'll have that kind of vibe with them as they transition from one set to the other. But Quirrell is somebody I've worked with for the past like year or two. Love her energy. She's definitely got more of like, she can sometimes throw a little bit of trap in there. There's a little bass happening, but man, she did a what was it? It was a remix of the Glorilla and Megan Thee Stallion song. I love it more than the original. It's so amazing. So we've got them on deck for the evening. They're going to be playing from Quirrell is at 12 to 1 and Rady's at 1 to 2 in the morning. Get that, nightlife part going. Then we've got Anti-Ghost, who they're basically like grunge adjacent and emo adjacent. I've gone on a mini tour with them, and they're just the best dudes. I love hanging out with them, and they've got killer music. If I didn't know them, I would still be listening to them if they came into my radar because they are that good. Bathroom of the Future, great guys. They lean on the side of, they're like nerd rock within their own right. A lot of their songs are talking about things like, playing Sega Genesis, and they just put out a song recently called Normal Taxi, which is a play off of Crazy Taxi, which is a video game. So you gotta love the callbacks for that. Then we got Mark Cooper. He is one of the best Detroit nerdcore rappers to exist. Once again, leaning into the nerd side of things here. He's got a 2-portion Nickelodeon mixtape that they did, and he pulled together a bunch of people to do features on those tracks. But he released those on Spotify, and all of them are kind of reminiscent of, calling back to the things that we remember in the 90s. Like one of the songs is about Double Dare. Like you've got a bunch of different things that are in that vein, and I just absolutely love it. One of my favorite projects of his, he did an album, and I'm trying to remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's Gerald's Field. There's a whole story that he crafted around him as the player one character. And so if you go and listen to his stuff, because I cannot do it justice by trying to explain it in like a minute, it's great. Then we got Crim, formerly known as Crimson Alchemist, phenomenal female rapper. I came in contact with her in early 2020 when she put out a mixtape of lesbian rap songs. And these were songs that she put forward on an EP, and somebody had sent me a press release on it. And I just became friends with her. I was like, I love your stuff. You are such a talented lyricist. And so I've done portrait work with her. I've shot some of her live sets before. Phenomenal rapper. She also lands in the nerdcore vein too. So she's got one song that is God, how does it go? What is it called? It's something to do with one of Charizard's moves from Pokemon. So it's so Seismic Toss. There we go. That song, one of my favorite songs by her. Then we've got Emerald Faye and Axiom Crux. These two are actually a boyfriend-girlfriend duo, but also they are kind of trip hop as well as electronic. Axiom Crux had done a lot of DJing back in the day when he lived here. He moved to Florida for a little bit and came back. So this is kind of his return as far as that's concerned. So I'm really excited to hear them live. They did a cover of from a Massive Attack song. Absolutely killer. And then last we've got Elrad, who is a phenomenal indie artist, plays an electric acoustic guitar most of the time. And I've had her come in for I think 2 or 3 shows now. She's a great act to see, and she will be kicking off the evening.
So just a complete entire lineup from nightfall to all the way. You said the event goes until 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Yeah. So we'll be starting at 7 p.m. and the earlier sets are about a half hour a piece, and then the 2 DJs at the end have an hour a piece because they need that hour to just bang it out.
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about each of the performers or some of the performers, and like I said, you guys can see the flyer in the split screen currently up. But I do also want to talk. I know that a portion of the proceeds. I want to talk about where people can purchase tickets, the cost, any age restrictions, and then also I want to talk more about where a portion of the proceeds that are going to be going to Affirmations, which is the LGBTQ Community Center. I just am going to call it the Michigan LGBTQ plus community hub for all of the things. So how important is it that you're able to donate some of the portions to Affirmations?
I really wanted to find a way to be helpful to our communities this year without getting too in depth on anything. I felt, right around November that I needed to do something that would be helpful to the community as a whole, whether it was for LGBTQ community or also for women, because there's been a lot of attack on our communities as of late. So I looked toward Affirmations and had a quick conversation with them over email, like, hey, are you guys comfortable with me promoting this and doing this? And then I will donate a portion of the proceeds to your organization. And they were all for it. They gave me the logo to put on the flyer and was cool with me promoting it that way. And I'm also going to be donating a little bit of the proceeds as well to Planned Parenthood. So we're going to kind of cover both bases there. But basically anything that is not going to operations is going to both of them. So as soon as the venue is paid off and whoever else needs to be paid for taking care of things at the event, everything else is going to them. I'm not taking money out of this or anything either. I'm not getting a tax write-off. I just want to do something so I feel like, we're contributing to the community. And Affirmations has always been a great place for everybody, even with there's a creator named Frankie. I can't remember what his last name is, but he does a lot of events at Affirmations, and they're called the holiday events. And so we have a bunch of different ones, and I've been in a couple of those, and just that community as a whole has been so helpful, whether it be like not even just during Pride and everything else, but those days when no events are going on, they're there to back you up. I saw, they were doing an event at one point to have somebody come in to talk to you about changing your name. There's different resources that are there, and they have a wall full of flyers to where you can connect with safe people. And that's something that I feel like, especially with, the things that we've been battling with, we need those networks more than ever. So to share those proceeds with them and help them out however we can is truly going to be the best part of all of this.
Absolutely, and shout outs to the executive director Cheryl and their entire team. Incredible people. So definitely, and especially like you said, during the current state of our nation, and with it being the holidays, it's such a perfect time. I know tickets are available for purchase on Eventbrite, correct?
Yes. So currently we have early birds available on Eventbrite as well as the normal ticket costs. The early birds are $13. The door cost will be $15 cash or $15.90 on card, just to cover the card fee or whatever. But you can purchase tickets either at the door or through Eventbrite. If you get them ahead of time, then it just solidifies that you're definitely gonna go. So either way, we're down for whatever. And it's going to be 18 and up this time, which is the first time that's ever happened. Before, we've always done 21 plus, but there are also the Tangent's really good of keeping an eye on everybody as far as, underage people and stuff. But on top of that, they have certain drinks that are non-alcoholic now as well, on top of just the normal standard bar drinks of pop and stuff. They have like non-alcoholic cocktails that they can make. So there's really something for everybody when it comes to that. And being that, there's so much to do in the building and people to watch, it's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. It definitely sounds like a great time. And we'll, of course, post all the event information on our social media platforms in the description of the video and all on social media, so that if people are interested, it sounds like a great time. I might have to pop up. If not this one, I definitely will be at the next one.
More than likely, we'll do another one in the summertime. That's usually when we do these. This just happened to be a one-off situation because of wanting to raise funds. And usually we have 3 stages. So the next one will be gigantic.
I am super excited, and it's always a good thing to connect other creatives and just have a great time. So before we get out of here, do you mind playing a quick game of rapid fire with us?
Totally in. Let's go.
All right. So I wish I had like a little clock or a buzzer, but we'll add that when I'm not producing and editing and hosting. But
you're like, I'll look for it eventually.
it'll happen. Favorite holiday movie?
Grinch. Specifically Jim Carrey's Grinch. Like, I gotta watch that every year, no matter what. I mean, how many times I have quoted the dinner with me? I can't cancel that again. Come on.
That is so funny. You are actually the second guest. We have a guest on our Day After Christmas episode. She said the same thing, and she was like, Jasmine. She said that it's only the Jim Carrey one. There's no other ones. There's no other versions.
I didn't watch the cartoon version that they created with, I think, Benedict Cumberbatch. I've seen the classic one, and obviously that's still a classic. But if I'm gonna watch any of them, I'm like, I need Jim Carrey. I need Martha May Whovier. Like, come on, so good.
Have to, and that's funny because that's my favorite holiday movie as well. Favorite holiday or Christmas song?
Oh goodness, I'm thinking off the top. I want to say there is one song by Real Big Fish, which is a ska band, and it's called Whatever You Celebrate. And it's literally kind of like an over-encompassing, like, whatever you celebrate, this one's for you, whatever holiday you're into, like, and it's very positive all across the board. So it kind of spreads more than just Christmas, but it's so fun in its own way.
Absolutely. Favorite holiday beverage?
I'm gonna go, because I'm a coffee nut, you know this. So I have to go with a mocha and not a hot chocolate. There needs to be coffee in there. And give me the oat milk, please. I don't need an entire cup of milk.
Yes, I completely agree. Especially I do support like local coffee establishments too, but I love Starbucks. And when they announced that oat milk and the alternative milks weren't gonna cost us extra, right? I was like, thank you, because I will drink a caramel brulee latte with oat milk. I still want the whipped cream. I'm not fully non-dairy just yet, but trying it. I'm gonna try it out in January. So I'm gonna be one of those people. I
still do occasional whip if I get a mocha at a Starbucks or something like that. I'll still do the occasional whip. But I definitely, it's just like I can't drink it like a whole venti of milk. It's just a bad time for everybody. But then the like local shops, like Dessert Oasis is one of my favorite places. They got a bunch of locations. You've got Detroit, you've got Ferndale, Royal Oak, and they make a killer mocha as well.
Oh, and it's so late in the night, and I now I'm like, I want a coffee. I had a red velvet coffee earlier today.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And then lastly, your favorite gift you've ever given to someone else?
Trying to think. This is going to sound so horrible, but this was the first thing that I thought of, and it's honestly just a really funny story. So one of my best friends in high school, his name is Greg. He didn't really like a ton of music like the rest of us. He kind of liked Led Zeppelin and Coheed and Cambria, and that was about the extent of his catalog, right? And at this time, this ages me, but I was, burning CDs for everybody for Christmas. So instead of making him a mix that he would like, in the vein of Greg being the person he is, which is like needling comedic humor constantly, I made him a CD of the songs he hates the most. And so it contained things like Tegan and Sara's Walking with a Ghost and 21 Guns from Green Day and a bunch of others. And I think it might be one of the most brilliant things because he opened it, looked at me, and he says, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm laughing hysterically. And he did end up listening to it, I'm sure. I'm like, I feel like he probably still has it somewhere, knowing him. But God, it was so funny because everybody else got like a specific CD that was like all these songs they loved. And then he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was just like, "What? You make it so hard for me to give you music. This is the only thing I can think of."
That is terrible, but also hilarious. That is great. Amy Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. And it was so great to catch up with you. I appreciate you fitting us into your schedule. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all of that jazz. Happy New Year to you and your family. And then real quick, once again, we are going to go ahead and put up the flyer, Found in the Underground, happening on Saturday, December 28th. Be sure to check it out. Like we said earlier, a portion of proceeds do go directly towards affirmations, and all of the details will be included on our social media pages. So thank you so much again for joining us today, Amy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everybody. Have a good holiday.
Absolutely. Once again, this has been Ty's Take Today Live. We do this each and every Thursday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I want to say thank you so much to Amy for joining us, as well as our first guest, Rachael, Norwood. And really, I just hope everybody has an amazing holiday season. And of course, you already know the drill if you've seen just one episode of our show. That being said, once again, be sure to follow us and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/the@ It's Ty's Take Today, Instagram @It's Ty's Take Today. And of course, go ahead and tap that YouTube subscribe button, YouTube @It's Ty's Take Today. That's going to do it for this edition. I do also want to show my message of the night is you are enough. You guys see it on my cute Christmas hoodie that I got. So shout outs. Yes. And remember, you are important. You are enough. You do matter. And there are so many resources out there when it comes to mental health services. Be sure to find a therapy outlet or just any type of outlet because you are enough and you matter. I love you all. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we'll be back on the day after Christmas with jazz. So be sure to join that conversation. We played a ton of games, had a good time, and it's a conversation you don't want to miss. All right, y'all.